Hello, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. I'm LOEVA, I'm a freelance artist, and I'm currently working on making my own animated short film from scratch. A lot's been happening all at the same time, and I'm also traveling at the moment. I've just landed in Budapest, and I'm staying here a little over a month as a kind of workaway situation. I'm going to be doing my freelance work to keep making some money, and of course exploring and doing some sightseeing while I'm here. But to be honest, I'm mainly excited to just work on my animated film project and just be fully immersed in it and in my head for a while. My film is currently going by the alias The Muse. It's a hyper-stylized 2D 3D hybrid somewhere between Tim Burton, Del Toro and Arcane. And what started as a small and curious idea a couple of years ago has really grown into something truly real and ambitious and exciting. But there are so many different elements that I'm trying to balance and work on at the same time at the moment. So in this video, I'm going to take you through how I structure and organize ambitious and complicated projects like this one into a tangible game plan. Because I will toot my own horn and say that I am the queen of lists and structure. I'm in the process of storyboarding and building out a full 30-ish minute animatic covering the full story. And a month ago, I opened voice acting auditions for the animatic stage of my film. And I still can't believe how many people connected with the project. There were 1,000 submissions. On the dot, mind you, not 999, not 1,001, 1,000 exactly. I was literally running out of Google storage space because there were so many submissions. But there have been so many amazing ones and so many different iterations that I'm in love with. So I'm actually working on doing a shortlist of candidates for callback auditions. That's going to be so hard to choose the final actors, but I'm so excited. Alongside all of that, I've also been experimenting in Blender to see how I might bring parts of this world into animation. Everything is still very much a work in progress. I'm learning on the job, but it's been so exciting to start to see these characters come to life. And yeah, I'm really excited about where all of this could go. So with how much this project has expanded, also just a note, I don't have a team behind me, it's just me working on all of this. I was definitely starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed, I'm not gonna lie. It's become so massive with so many different facets and elements in different places, and now different people starting to get involved. I was definitely lacking a central hub for this project, which is why I'm really glad that Milanote reached out, and they are the sponsor of today's video and this channel's first ever sponsor. And I couldn't be more excited because over the past month I've genuinely been using Milanote's free tool and integrating it into my planning and creative workflow as I continue to expand this indie animation project and slowly work towards realizing this dream animated film. Milanote is a digital tool for planning, organizing and structuring creative projects. It's great for any kind of creative project, from writing a book, storyboarding, planning an artwork or a painting, mood boards, literally anything to be honest. And I already know I'll be using Milanote for future and other projects as well. And today I'm going to take you through how I built out my board for this animated film project and how I organized all the different facets of the project into one clear visual hub of resources, inspirations, references and mood boards. Literally everything I've worked on for this project, it's in here. It's become such a helpful visual guide and clearly laid out game plan for me while I keep working on this project. Okay, so I'm going to start by dragging out a board here, and if I go into that, you can immediately see that there's a bunch of templates that I can choose from. You can see that there's all sorts for creative projects like a mood board, a project plan, storyboarding, so that's really helpful. So you can pick whatever fits for your project best and then expand it however you'd like. I'm going to start with an empty board, and the first thing that I want to do is that I want to put in my latest story restructure. I've always approached this film and story visually. I don't have a huge detailed script, just a very rough breakdown, so I'm going to drag in a document and just copy and paste my story breakdown in here. Now that it's there, it's easily accessible and I can look back on it anytime I need. I could link longer or more complicated documents or sites or anything, and you'll see how I do that for different pieces of the project in a minute. I also want to put in my latest animatic version in here, so I'm just going to add a link, and I can link in my unlisted YouTube video, and it gets added in here with the video so I can literally play it while I'm still in Milanote, which is really helpful. Ah! It hurts. Ooh, that's my voice. Yuck. So even though the story structure and the animatic have developed a lot since I started, and it's still developing, I'm always referring back to my initial notes and sketches for inspiration and reference. I often try to go back and reconnect with whatever that initial spark was that made me want to start the project. I'm always trying to reconnect with the core of the story and the characters and the themes, and looking back at notes just really helps me immerse myself back in the headspace, if that makes sense. The thing is that I have so many notes and drawings that are just scattered across several different notebooks and sketchbooks. Especially now that I'm traveling, I can't carry around 5 different notebooks. So this is the perfect place to gather all of my important notes and pages and put them in one place and together with the rest of the project. So I'm going to drag in another board and go in here, and you can see that it acts like an entirely new board with templates and everything. And while I was still at home in Australia, I took a bunch of photos of all of my important notes and sketches. And another reason that I love Milanote is because of how portable and on the go it is. I downloaded the mobile app on my phone, and it's really easy to just upload all the photos in there and then come back later and reorganize them on my laptop. It's also great for portable brainstorming and just notes on the go, which I do all the time. I get ideas at random times and frantically write them down in my notes app or on whatever piece of paper I have. So I love that I can note things down straight in here no matter where I am, at a cafe, on public transport, in a library, instead of having all of my notes scattered in loads of different places. Now that I'm starting to have a few different things in here, I'm going to organize them into columns so that it's clear and easy to follow. And I'm going to title them Story and Animatic. Let's also start decorating this board so that it fits this hyper stylized world that I'm making. I want to feel excited and inspired just by looking at it. So let's bring in a concept painting with the main colors and style, and we can make this section a fitting blue. I've realized that I'm a very visual person. Like I said, for my animated film, I didn't start out by writing out a script. I approached it by drawing concept art and characters and storyboarding first. So it's really cool to have a tool where I can organize things in the same way that works best for me, where I can customize everything and style it however I like. If you've seen my studio back home, I've covered the walls with posters and images that match my project's world and aesthetic, because I'm constantly trying to make my workspaces reflect the worlds that I'm trying to create. So I love that I can do the same with my digital project hub. I also brought with me some printed photos and stuff and stuck it there so that I get inspired in this room as well. Okay, on to the next thing that I'm doing right now for the animatic, which is voice acting auditions. I'm going to add a title for the section, voice acting, and I'm going to bring in another column, and this is a pretty big section because a lot is happening with this right now. While filming this video, auditions have just closed, and I got through 1,000 of the submissions, and I was really confused because I thought there were 1,000 submissions, but I actually realized that the number of files is a lot more. It's actually 1,750 something files. So I still have quite a bit to get through. So I'm going to add a link to the submission point so that I can go back and keep going through the auditions. Okay, and on to the next steps that I have to do. As I said, I'm organizing callbacks for shortlisted candidates. So I've been organizing that process in a document in here. It's my first time doing anything like this and hosting auditions, so it's been a bit nerve-wracking. My worst nightmare is being a bad host, but I'm just trying to make sure that all of my notes and planning are all in one place so that I can iterate and brainstorm and see how everything works together and just try to stay calm and organized. By the way, there's actually one voice missing that I didn't include in the auditions because I genuinely just forgot, like it's just a one-liner. But if you want to keep updated about that and any other updates or opportunities for this project, you can join my Discord server. There's a really amazing community over there now, and you can find a link in the description of the video. I've also made a callback sheet again to structure and organize everything. So I'm gonna add a link to that here so that when I'm ready I can start picking my shortlisted candidates and keeping everything organized. Of course, after the callback stage I'm going to have to pick my final voice actors, so I'm going to add another document ready for that. Final actors. Oh, it's going to be so hard to choose. And throughout all of this, I'm actually still writing out all of the dialogue lines for my animatic that the final voice actors will be referring to for their performances. So I'm going to add a link to that as well. Dialogue lines, there it is. So I'm going to add another link and link my Notion. Okay, Dialogue is not my strong suit, so it's been taking a while, and my last animatic version just had very vague dialogue that I hadn't really developed yet. So I've been working on refining it a bit more into something more fitting and effective. But I really like the idea of leaving space for the final voice actors to experiment and bring their own iteration and ideas to the dialogue lines. So I'm seeing this more as a loose guide more than anything else. The next big step that stems from everything in here so far is the pilot. This project and the full story and animatic has come a really long way from when I started, and it's been really interesting seeing how ideas evolve as they become more tangible and real. I'm quite a perfectionist, so actually learning to let go of control a little and allow the project to evolve into something slightly different than I initially expected has honestly been a really important learning experience for me. And the more I work on developing this story, the more I realize that I think I'd actually like to keep the full story for maybe future development, whether that's pitching or evolving it further down the line into a longer story that explores the dynamics and themes more deeply. I still plan to continue refining and completing the current version of the animatic, especially now that I'll be incorporating voice actors into it, but I'm no longer seeing it as something that I need to perfect as a standalone short film. Instead, I'm beginning to think of it as a proof of concept or an open-ended foundation for something larger in the future, although I'm still figuring out exactly what that is. What I do want to focus my energy on refining more deeply is the beginning of the story, essentially developing the opening section of the animatic into a stronger chapter 1 or pilot style release that I can properly launch and share publicly. So I still have to define that more clearly, but I've tried to make it really visually clear in here for myself so that I don't lose sight of priorities and what I'm actually working towards. I'm also going to add arrows so that I can very clearly see how all the different elements of the project connect and lead into each other. Another important resource that I refer to all the time are my massive and endless Pinterest boards for inspiration and reference. So I want to put my favorite images into a mood board in here. So let's make one. Dragging another board in here, opening that up. What I love is that I can just go to any image and copy and paste it directly into Milanote and then organize it wherever I want. This is already looking really great, and it's so helpful again to have everything in one place and laid out visually in a way that really inspires me. I've placed my images into sections, so I have one for Evangeline that's color coded, the creature. I have more like architecture inspiration over here, maybe some style, color, shape, language that I like. I still have loads of other helpful images in my Pinterest boards that I might want to refer to if I want to just dive deeper into any section. So I'm just going to link those boards directly into my sections so that I can refer to them whenever I want. I also want to have another mood board, but just for my concept art on this project. Again, I always have all my art scattered across loads of different folders on my laptop, especially now that this project is growing so much with so many different elements that I'm exploring. So it's really nice to have this board where I can actually see everything again in one place, laid out visually in a way that makes sense for me, instead of just buried inside loads of different folders. Also going back to my main board and changing those icons and the color to fit my project better. I can change the image by choosing icons or importing an image, changing the color schemes. It's these little things that I really enjoy about being able to customize. Of course, there's another big important section to put in this project plan, which is the 3D testing and 3D animation trials. I'm slowly learning and testing as I go, and I'd really like to complete a proper animation test soon that I'm working on to see how I might bring parts of this world into animation. So let's make another section, 3D testing. I'm going to put my first 3D test that I did here. It was mostly brought together in Houdini with a lot of guidance, and although it was a really valuable learning experience, I wouldn't say it fully reflects my own creative choices yet, mainly because I just didn't have enough technical understanding or control at the time of making this. I still wouldn't in Houdini. It's such a challenging software to learn, and I barely had any experience, so I was completely dependent on someone else to help me progress. So the outcome doesn't fully reflect my own work creatively or my own choices, but it's still an important part of the journey and useful to reflect on. I've put in a frame of the animation, and I'm going to put in a link for the final animation, and I'll also add a notes section where I can write reflections and learnings. It does at least have some stylistic qualities that I imagined for the animation style, so it's nice to see it there. I'm currently working on a second animation test entirely by myself in Blender. I've modeled, texture painted, rigged, and started animating everything myself, and it's been really great because I've had to learn every stage of the animation prep pipeline to actually progress forward. I learn best by actually doing things and making the frustrating mistakes and figuring things out as I go, learning from those mistakes. So I feel like I have learnt so much while working, struggling, but progressing on this. Yeah, progress has definitely been very slow, but that's because I'm learning on the job. For this test, I'm going off a concept painting that I did and that I really like. Here it is. I really love how intense and emotional this painting feels, so I thought it would be perfect to test and see how I could bring that same feeling and emotion into animation. I've been documenting the entire process of working on this animation test, so I'm excited to share some insights into that soon. I've already done some initial animation and render tests. There's still a lot to do, but honestly, it's looking really promising so far. So I'll just put in some frames of where it's currently at for my own satisfaction. And I constantly forget the mistakes and the times that I've gotten stuck, and I forget how I fixed those mistakes. So then later I just completely forget how I solved something or a technique that I learnt. And again, when I write notes, they're scattered across loads of different notebooks. So I really want to make an effort to properly document my notes and learnings directly in here so that everything is clear and laid out in one place, because just because I did something absolutely does not mean that I'll remember how to do it again. I look at a lot of YouTube videos and tutorials while doing these tests, so this is also a great place to save any links or resources so that I never lose them again. Actually, I've also just been sent a free course in Blender for animating. I can't share much just yet, but after organising and incorporating the voice acting, I'll be able to properly get back to animating, which I'm excited about because I really miss it, to be honest. And I'll be following this course, and hopefully it can help me really learn and understand better how to do this project. So I'm excited for all of that that's coming up soon, and I'll keep you guys updated. Back to my board, I also really want to add some posters of movies and media that really inspire me and fit the style of my own project. These films and their style and color palettes and shape language just get me really excited and inspired for my own project. I'm also going to add some color swatches to lay out the primary colors for my film's visual language. And now this whole board together is really showing lots of the different elements of the visual language that I want. So I find that really helpful to just constantly see that in front of me and be reminded of it while I'm working. And I'm almost finished my board. The last thing that I want to include is future goals or plans or possibilities, and just what I'm thinking about moving forward as I keep working on this project. It's not like I have everything laid out in like a perfect roadmap that leads me to a specific final result. Yes, I'm working towards this larger dream of realizing my own animated film, but honestly, I'm still figuring out exactly what that even means as I go. The game plan shifts and adapts all the time. I see it as something that's fluid and constantly changing, but the overall direction has stayed pretty steady, to be honest. Honestly, I think that fluidity is really important. Otherwise, I'd probably burn out trying to force myself and the project into exactly what I originally expected it to be. And the more you learn, the more things evolve and change, and that's a good thing. One thing I'm looking into now that I'm planning to work on and release a pilot animatic, and now that this project has become bigger and gained a lot more traction, is grant applications and funding. Right now for the pilot, getting funding to support my own labor and to fund music would be so amazing. I know a lot of you have offered to make music for free, which I am so flattered and grateful, and that's just so generous. My hope is to eventually be able to pay skilled and hardworking artists for their work. So that's definitely something I'll be including in my next grant application, and we'll have to see how it goes. And yeah, honestly, support for my own labor would help massively. So much time goes into this project, and balancing freelance work and clients, collaborations, and just trying to pursue my art career and my own film project all at the same time can definitely be difficult sometimes. I'm going to add another little arrow to another section just for music. I actually made a whole Spotify playlist with some reference music and scores that I love and that I could imagine in my own film. So I'm going to add a link to that Spotify playlist. And here it is, and I can play it directly in Milanote, which is really cool. That's from Arcane. Okay, and then further down in my grand game plan, I've got a few ideas that I'm excited to explore as I keep working. I can't show you future plans and possibilities just yet, but I'm very excited about where everything is going. Oh, last thing, I always have a checklist somewhere, so I can't not add it in here. And that way I've got my next steps clearly laid out in order and I can stay on track. I'm so excited about this project and where it's going, and I still can't believe how far it's come from when it started. It's mind-blowing, honestly. And seeing it all laid out like this really makes me realize how much work has gone into it, and it kind of makes me emotional, to be honest. And the further this develops, the more I truly believe this could become something really beautiful and impactful. The best part is that I'm enjoying every single chapter and I get to share it with all of you, and the love and the support that this project has received so far has been so honestly overwhelming in the best way possible. My heart is just overflowing. Thank you everyone so much. My little heart can't take it. Thank you Milanote for sponsoring this video and supporting this channel and my work with a tool that genuinely helps artists and creatives organize and realize ambitious projects like this one. I've genuinely loved incorporating it into my workflow this past month. So if you're working on any projects, there's a link in the description where you can try Milanote for free with no time limit. Give it a try and I hope you find it as useful as I have. Also, a massive thank you to the amazing people over on Patreon for directly supporting my work and the making of this film. You are genuinely making working on this project, documenting it and sharing it online more sustainable for me, and it's thanks to you that I can slowly keep bringing this dream project to life. It means the world to me and I really appreciate it. Over on Patreon we've got extra content, behind the scenes insights and deeper dives into the process of making a film from scratch like this. There's tutorials and painting processes, art challenges and live streams now, and you get access to the Patreon exclusive channels over on Discord. If you want to support my work and get more insights into everything, there's a link in the description where you can check it out. Also make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps with the algorithm. Now that I'm a bit more settled here in Budapest, I'm excited to share a few vlogs maybe and videos just on my life here and what it's like balancing everything. Freelance work and client work, project development and the voice acting process, the pilot, other collaborations and other projects while living alone in a new city and exploring at the same time. So I'll see you very soon in the next video. Okay, thank you, bye!